This is TWiT.
Let's talk about something happy. My next camera. Maybe. I don't know. Carey Rose is on the line with us. He's an editor at DP Review. Hi, Carey.
Hey, how's it going, guys?
I ordered the A9 twice and canceled it both times because I'd heard both good and bad things about this. Sony, of course, has really taken the mirrorless world by storm with the Sony Alpha cameras, in particular the A7. I bought the A7, the A7R, the A7R-S, the A7R2. I didn't buy the A7S2, and I was thinking about the A9. I have the lenses. It's a limited number of lenses, but they've got these G Master lenses now. Should somebody who is already invested in the Sony ecosystem look at the A9?
Well, you know, I just think it depends on what you want to shoot. I mean, you said yourself you ordered it twice and you canceled it twice, which means you're maybe having the same sort
I'm ambivalent.
Yeah, you're having it's almost like a camera identity crisis.
Well, first of all, it's very expensive, but I also have an A7R2, and I have heard, and I'd love to know what your experience has been, that the dynamic range on the A9 is actually lower than the A7R2.
It is, unquestionably. At least if you're shooting things like landscapes, the A7R2 is going to be a better camera for you in that way. The A9 is really geared. Actually, I should probably pull it over.
Yeah, let's see it.
I've got it. There it is.
And one of those great G Master lenses. You got the zoom. It looks like on.
Actually, this it's actually just a very large 35 millimeter.
Oh,
35-1.4.
Well, that's by the way one of the great things about the Sony cameras is the adapters. You can take a lot of old lenses and put those on the Sony body and get the advantage of the new electronics and the new sensors.
You can. You can not only do that, you can put a lot of, honestly, a lot of Canon glass on here. And you get, well, not full autofocus, but you get some pretty good autofocus.
You're using the Metabones adapters?
We do. We have Metabones adapters, and then we've got Sony's own adapters for their A-mount lenses, and then there's that Sigma adapter too, which they released for this camera as well.
So tell us about the A9. What's new? What's different?
What's new? What's different? Well, first of all, I mean, if you look at the thing, it's pretty, like, if you're not holding it, it looks pretty much like an A7R2.
Yeah.
Once you get it in your hand, it feels pretty different pretty quick. Okay. You've got an extra couple of dials, extra couple of controls up here, and these are for your drive mode, so whether you want to shoot 20 frames a second or 10 or 5. And then there's also your autofocus mode, so you don't have to assign a button to those. There's just dials at this point.
I hear that that's where this really sings, is in very fast focus and very fast burst modes.
It is indeed. So if that's your bread and butter, this is definitely a camera.
A sports shooter, a bird shooter, something like
wildlife.
That. Absolutely, absolutely. This is really the first time that we've seen really any competitor besides Nikon and Canon go after this market of really pro-action, pro-fast moving subject photography.
Yeah. With
this sort of like kind of vigor. I mean, like this camera's just got so much packed into it. It's incredible.
They also have talked about this new sensor that it's stacked. What is it about this sensor?
So what that means is that they've actually put so much more of the electronics so close together. So there's actually RAM chips built onto the back of the sensor.
Wow.
This is a good test, by the way. I remember this from the Sony presentation.
Yeah, they did sports. They did sports of all kinds so you could shoot some action stuff.
They did. Yeah, that was one of our tests right there.
Yeah.
But what that means is there's actually there are RAM chips.
Wow. Right so this is burst mode. This is not a movie. That's a movie. No.
No. That's a burst mode. That's 20 frames a second.
Wow.
Oh, good grief.
Wow. Okay, so I could see the value of that.
It's pretty cool. It's pretty cool. Yeah. Because previously the fastest you would get with a camera that could focus this well and shoot that fast, you're shooting 12 frames a second or you're shooting 14 frames a second. So now you're getting 20.
Wow.
You're getting that much more, that many more frames per second.
So that's because they stacked the electronics? That's what
so they can get that kind of speed out of it?
That's a big part of it. I mean, they're basically, so you can shoot 20 frames a second, and then it's actually taking autofocus and auto exposure measurements 60 times every second. So for like every photo you're getting 3 measurements of autofocus and auto exposure. It's pretty cool.
That's a good point. As that guy is running towards you in the pole vault, you have to refocus. He's moving towards you, so that's all tracking focus there.
Yes, and what we've been talking about with Canon and Nikon's is they actually have some predictive algorithms, because in those cameras, one of the things is you have a mirror that comes up and the shutter goes and the mirror comes down, and they're doing this 12 or 14 times a second.
Right.
It's really scientific.
That's amazing sort of that they can do all that physical movement. Mirrorless, you don't have to move anything out of the way.
No, and that's the big thing with this. There's no shutter. This is there is a shutter, but it's electronic.
Right.
So basically, what it's able to do is able to read out the sensor so fast that it can not only make those calculations but also capture those photos.
Holy cow!
It doesn't even have to predict quite as much as the other cameras. It can just make those measurements so quickly that it knows almost in like real time as you do what's happening.
So is that the main reason to get the A9 for the fast shooting, the fast focus?
It's one of several reasons. I would say it's probably is the main reason.
Okay.
The other ones I would say is the grip is better. It's got more controls like we talked about. The buttons feel a little chunkier. The whole camera feels a little bit beefier, but it's still compact. The biggest thing by far though is the silent shooting. Like you don't have the dynamic range of the A7R2, but you don't have to use the mechanical shutter at all. So if you're shooting a press event, like if I'm shooting the president, God forbid, or I'm shooting at a wedding, or I'm shooting at a church mass, I can fire away completely silently. No one will know I've touched the shutter, and I'm not intruding. I'm not distracting. It's really pretty cool.
I do love that feature on the A7R2 as well, but do I sacrifice quality when I use it on the A7 versus the A9?
There is a difference, yeah. So the A7R2 sensor will read out it's not a big difference. In most cases, you're not going to notice it. On the A9, there's really no penalty for using that sort of electronic shutter. Okay. You can just basically leave it on all the time, and you'll get about the same quality. Yeah.
Yeah, because so this is why my big debate. I'm about to go on a great trip, a once-in-a-lifetime trip, where I want to take a lot of photos to Machu Picchu and the Galapagos. But I don't think I need speed.
Not for the tortoises in Galapagos.
Yeah,
no.
they don't move that fast.
Generally speaking.
I think I'm looking at image quality going to be #1, although silent shooting probably would be good for wildlife.
You are going to need vistas for Machu Picchu, but...
Now, A9 is what, how many megapixels? It's very high.
It's 24. It's 24.
It's only 24. I thought it was more.
Oh, it's only 24.
Only 24. Well, okay, so the other camera I could bring is a Canon 5D Mark IV. Great image quality.
Absolutely.
And not silent shooting, but I've got a whole bunch of those lenses. I mean, I've invested in that. It was really, I invested heavily in Canon for years. Yeah. Until the Sonys came along, and I liked the lightweight mirrorless. But one thing I did discover with the Sonys is that weight advantage is lost pretty quickly when you get the lenses, which are the same size as the Canon lenses.
It does, and that is something that they've kind of come to grips with as well.
Yeah.
You'll save a bit of that weight on the body, but yeah, the really high-end lenses are kind of
they're big.
They are kind of big and heavy. Yeah, but there are options if you don't need the highest end lenses. They make like a 28 f2 that's about a third of the size of it. Like it only comes out this far.
Yeah, the pancake lenses are great, and that's really mirrorless works very well with those. I'm actually moving towards the Canon and just going to bite the bullet and carry all that weight with me because I do want the best possible image quality, and I have a feeling that. What do you think? A7R2, A9, or the Canon 5D Mark IV?
You know what I would say? So if it was me and I had all those cameras at my disposal and I was going to take this trip that you just described, I would probably take the A7R2 if it was me. Because then you're at least going to save a little bit of space on your body.
Silent shooting.
You're going to you have the silent shooting if you need it. You have a little bit more resolution if you need it, a little more dynamic range if you need it, and you can adapt all those Canon lenses pretty eeasily to that body, and you save at least a little bit of weight from the 5D.
The good news is I have like 23 Sony batteries. Because the battery life on this is the worst I've ever used on any camera ever.
And that's one thing that they fixed with the A9. It doesn't look all that much bigger. This is more than twice the capacity of the A7R2 battery. It makes a huge difference. You can shoot 3,000 photos on this battery if you're shooting fast action.
That was one of the things I think Sony did to reduce the size and weight, is they reduced the size and weight of the battery.
Yeah, which is kind of, it's not a smart move,
Well, I mean, I have a bunch of them. I have a special carrying case just for the battery.
Oh, they're going to love you on aircraft now with the new lithium-ion bands. So,
Don't check those in your baggage.
No, I have to carry them with me. Oh, wow. So the A9 is I think it was $4,500 when I looked.
That's correct.
Minus lenses.
Minus lenses.
Yeah.
You just saved yourself a fortune by this segment.
I haven't bought it, and I don't think I am going to buy it because I have to say, I'm not a sports shooter. I'm not a wildlife photographer. I'm not shooting birds in flight. So I don't need all that speed. And I think I'm getting a better image with the A7R2, frankly.
That's perfectly valid. I mean, that's kind of the thought process I was going through as well. Is this camera, it is in so many ways a better A7R2 to use, to focus. It's faster, it's more responsive. For outright image quality, there's a reason they're still making the A7R2. It is going to be the best outright image quality if you don't need the absolute ridiculous speed that this thing offers. And it's crazy. It's an amazing camera. not everyone needs that speed, and then if you do, then it's really something you're going to look at carefully.
It's almost a specialty camera, really.
Kind of. It's coming across that way.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, because you talked about is this going to be worth $4,500? This is going head to head with a Canon 1DX2,
a 1DX, exactly. Yeah.
And a Nikon D5, and those are both $6,000 and $6,500 respectively.
Right.
And this shoots faster frame rates. The autofocus, from what we can tell, is honestly like it's if not as good, maybe marginally better in some cases. Wow. So it is a specialty camera. It's an amazing camera, but it's definitely not for everybody.
One last question. In the mirrorless versus the DSLR with mirrors, is that war going in any one direction? Is mirrorless the future?
Whatever I say, I'm just going to get roasted in my own comments section.
This is really a war. I mean, I'm not using war lightly. This is a battle between proponents and friends like Trey Ratcliffe. He loves mirrorless. He's gone all mirrorless, but he's a landscape photographer.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And I don't think you're overstating it at all, because this is a big kind of salvo being fired by Sony at the big two.
Right.
That they basically made a big deal, like, we've taken all of the bits that are mechanical, that can wear out, that are flapping around, that can cause shutter shock and vibrations and make your image softer. We're getting rid of that. We're going to do it all electronically, and we're going to do it better. And there are still things that this camera, I think, has some work to do on. But that race is not over. That battle's not over. It's honestly more neck and neck, I think, than it's ever been. But again, you're shelling out $4,000+ to get there.
Well, as you could probably tell, I seem to have no limit to the amount of money I'll spend trying to make myself a better photographer.
I was going to say
it is not working, but I have all the gear anyway. Hey, it's great to talk to you, Carey. You're lucky because you get to try all this stuff. What's your daily driver for photography?
Daily driver, actually, just I was fortunate enough I got to post an article today about a wedding I shot a couple weeks ago on an old Nikon D700. So
what?
That's an old camera. Right. Take a look. I think the photos look okay.
Absolutely, absolutely.
But I'm finally getting to the point. That article is basically about how I know it's probably time for a new camera now.
Nice. My first DSLR.
Nice shot,
yeah, see, he's a good photographer. That's the difference.
Exactly.
I am not a good photographer, so I need to have the best cameras.
Everything takes practice.
Hey, it's great to talk to you, Carey. Thank you so much for joining us.
Yeah, you guys too.
The A9, it's out now. If you got 4,500 schmackers just to, lay down, you can get it. I mean, we're going to have to buy a lens, too. It doesn't come with a lens.
I was going to say, then there's the lenses, and there's carrying cases, and the spare batteries.
Spare batteries are cheap, thank goodness.
Yeah.
Thank you, Carey. Appreciate it.
Cheers, mate.
Thank you, guys.
Wow.